Welcome to another edition of Cleanpin. Hope everything's going well for you guys. I'm recording this video on Wednesday, being that I can't record it on Thursday, which is usually when I do record on Thursday. But geez, now how the hell have you been? Again, what we do is we talk about wrestling here on the From the Bleachers Sports Show, and we cover various topics as much as we could do in a 35, half an hour, 35, 40, 45 minute time frame. So you like your video cast, podcast type of a deal. And, just cover kind of the week's sports, wrestling the past week. You could check out my other channel, which is the Tom Brand 1. And you could also check out Tom Brand 1 Thoughts, which is kind of like a vlog, traveling places, nostalgia, so on and so forth type of a channel. So we cover a wide variety of topics there. And we also cover sports on this channel as well, from the Bleachers Sports Show. So if you like baseball, football, basketball, MMA, stick to it. All my other wrestling videos that I cover from last week are linked in here since I made the last podcast, so you're able to look at that news. And then I post other wrestling videos throughout the week as well. So again, this is nothing that's done professionally. As you can see, this is done on my commute. Well, you can't see. I'm telling you, this is done on my commute home from my cell phone. And just shooting some breeze with you guys here as I pour in. No, not some of the bubbly, but some iced tea. I think I just spilled everything. No, actually, I did not. So how the hell are you? A couple of things that I wanted to go over, and this is in no particular order whatsoever. As you could see, guys, trucks with their high beams just, willing to take out your eyesight at no expense. So, we had WWE backstage this past week. A couple of things of interest from that episode that popped up that I would like to share. It was announced that John Morrison has in fact re-signed with the WWE. John Morrison, who has, I believe it's a 2-year deal, has been around, been gone for quite some time. He had stints in Lucha Underground, stints in Impact Wrestling, these rumors kind of circulated earlier, about 2 months ago, and of course you would deny it, but he was denying it, saying no, he didn't sign. Maybe he didn't sign. All the details weren't finalized and nothing was signed. Maybe some things needed to be ironed out, and John Morrison back in the WWE, and I think that's, it's going to be a good move. A lot of wrestlers leave and they do come back, kind of reinvent themselves. We've seen Drew McIntyre leave, and he's come back. Completely different version of Drew McIntyre. You could see that he's more intense. His physique, his look is different, which I think is a positive. He looks more intimidating, and he does not look like a regular Joe Schmo. You could tell that he's taken. It's just everything that he does now is with more intensity, which is, I think, something that he was lacking back then in Drew McIntyre. He's still, so he's been improved in that regards. He's still he's lacking some type of connection with the fans. He's, missing something in that regards is missing. But yeah, John Morrison, I think the main thing that was his problem, it was nothing to do with his wrestling. Great wrestler. Very acrobatic. When he left, he was doing a lot of these type of movies. A lot of stunt movies too. His look has always been good. It's just that he was missing something on the microphone. From what you've seen from him, at least in my humble opinion, from in Impact and various other places, I think he could definitely play a good heel. And he's definitely better on the microphone. He's improved. He's older now, because this has been 8 years since, I believe. His last been in WWE, so he's a little bit older. Could he still go at the high speed that he used to? Probably not, but I don't think he has to anymore. He was always a fan favorite. And I think, what I think though, what I worry about, it's been 8 years. So, are the people that were watching WWE 8 years ago, are they still watching now? Are the people, all the new fans, are they going to remember John Morrison? Has it been a little bit too long since John Morrison has been around? Time will tell. Interesting to see what type of reaction he will get. I could see him feuding with The Miz. I think if you would have told me that between The Miz and John Morrison, at least on, and this is just a matter of opinion, if you ask me who has had a more successful career, I would probably tell you The Miz. Now, if you would have told me that, if you would have asked me that, who would have the more successful career, Morrison or Miz, I would never have said Miz. But, that's, I guess, part of having the machine behind you is a lot of people, just for you being on the WWE platform, a lot of people recognize you, which is part of the reason why the Miz has had a little bit more success as far as TV. He's had numerous championships. He's been on the radio, Sirius. He had his own, sports show there, the Fantasy Sports. So it's just, it's good to have John Morrison back. Sure, he could do something with The Miz, and that chemistry that they had, and that duel, that tag team was actually pretty good, and I enjoyed it. I believe they were, back in the old day, they were doing something on WWE.com. I think it was called, I forget what it was. It was like a weekly webcast. I forget the exact name of it. Google it, YouTube it. You'll find out. It was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool little feature. So I'm spilling my Just go all over the place. The ratings came out, and this is your Thanksgiving ratings, and winning was NXT, beating out AEW. AEW. Now, again, we're gonna just. I'm not one to like dwell on the ratings, but this is what I. Okay. In regards to the ratings, it's kind of doesn't really. You know, your 9 weeks ratings do play a part. Okay, yes, I get it, but why are you like? Why are the fans? I get why the networks, the higher executives of AEW are concerned about the ratings. If you're a wrestling fan, why are you so concerned about the ratings? I mean, if you're a wrestling, why? I mean, the reason why I say that is you have only been around for 9 weeks. 9 weeks. Don't worry about trying to stick it to the WWE. Worry about your product and how your product could grow. Now, AEW fans, don't make excuses, for what happened what happened with the ratings, and I believe the ratings for AEW were just over 600,000. Don't make excuses. People were not out day before Thanksgiving. They weren't out partying. They weren't out to clubs. There was no, stop making excuses about a basketball game that was on or a football game that was on. Just stop it, please, and accept the defeat. If you're a diehard fan, you're going to be watching wrestling. If someone is interested in your product and they want to tune in, they will tune in. They'll find a way to tune in. Please stop with making the excuses. It's okay to take your defeat if you're going to be watching these ratings. See, I'll tell you the problem that I have for me with AEW, and I've said this a few times already on this channel. Try not to position myself here. Talk about New York traffic, Jesus. So the problem with AEW, and this is to a fault as well with WWE. Like WWE has their own problem, but this is the problem, I think, the main problem that AEW has right now. Okay, I've said this before. We need to be introduced. We need to know more about these characters on our TV screen. You are giving the audience way too much credit that's watching your product and thinking that they know who a Marco Stunt is, and thinking that they know who a Jungle Boy is, or a Luchasaurus is. You need character development. Why should we care about these people? Because week after week, if you're what yours is 9 episodes in, 10 episodes in, slowly but surely, week after week, if you don't develop these characters that you have on your program, whenever the audience sees them on TV, they're going to change the channel and they're going to treat it as a piss break. Spend some time developing Do some vignettes. Do something. Listen, we had a vignette for Britt Baker. I know who Britt Baker is, kind of. Rio, all I know is Rio is the champ, and I think she then dated Kenny Omega. What else do I know about Rio? Like, for example, like when I made the video, like the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. From what I understand, like this faction is known, like in the, they're really known in a certain region on the indie scene, and of course, Ali was called the Bunny in Impact, which is how she's called, the Bunny, I believe. They used to calling her Bunny back then. But again, like, I don't know how come these people, that trio, that faction, wasn't introduced better as they're, interfering. It's almost like, oh wow, here they are, and you're thinking, like, who are they? And it's never expressed. I think the AEW kind of assumes that their fan base watches the indies hardcore and they know the story. That doesn't count. They're on a TV now. I mean, we know the story of Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes. We know their story because they've been wrestling for 10, 15 years on TV. They're established. So we don't need to know about them. We know everything. I think that's the problem what AEW is having. Now, remember this too. If and these segments with AEW have been ending in all types of fuckery and so on and so forth. Okay, and they even came out with a new commercial. Just one thing, just going back on that. Remember, if you're looking at ratings and so on and so forth, if you're focusing on ratings, which, if you're AEW executives, I'm sure you have to. That's what you should be doing. But you should also be focusing on developing your talent. Remember that NXT, with the machine that they have behind them, at a snap of a finger, NXT could have, conceivably, if they wanted to, NXT could have on their program Brock Lesnar. They could bring in, they could have, they could have Roman Reigns. They could have all types of superstars, main roster guys that are gonna have, Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey could be fighting on NXT. If they wanted to, at the snap of a finger, they could do it. So don't try to be consumed in that ratings war. If you're an AEW fan, try to focus on your product. This is my 2 cents, obviously. I was gonna go somewhere. Oh yeah, and they just kind of ties in with what I was gonna say. They AEW was like airing commercials from like the first week when AEW went head to head with NXT, and they all types of, it was like little blurbs about how, let's say, AEW crushed WWE, NXT, from Forbes, all Newsday, type of magazine, these type of blurbs, and then running it on TV. Again, I'm just going to go with stay in your own lane, focus on your product. This is exactly what WCW kind of, they took their eye off the prize eventually, after a couple of years, and that's when they started losing the ratings. Worry about establishing yourself first. Don't try to go after the big dog, because again, the big dog could pull any single type of move that they wanted to. Brock Lesnar on NXT, Ronda Rousey on NXT, Charlotte Flair on NXT. They could pull that at any point. Focus on your product. And I'm gonna go with this angle again. Here's your old amigo going back to the same angle again. There was a tweet, after there was a tweet that John Morrison, I forgot to mention it. Tweet that John Morrison let out, saying, he's excited to be back in the WWE, facing all the best talent in the world. And CM Punk chimes in with saying, dude, like, Will Ospreay is in New Japan. So now everyone with the internet is blowing up. And I'm going to ride that sentiment as well. I am hitching my wagon. Is that the word I'm going to use? I'm bringing in my poker chips. I am pushing it to the side here. And I'm going to tell you, I think Mr. Punk and the WWE are kissing and making up as we speak. And we will see CM Punk at Royal Rumble. Listen, I don't know, but if you're into this type of thing, if you follow the internet and the little internet drama controversy from a couple of months ago, there was an exchange between Ospreay and Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was saying that he is the best in the world, prove him wrong, and then Will Ospreay, I guess, said that he was considered himself the best in the world. Something to that regard. So this is like a shot, one could assume, that CM Punk is taking at Seth Rollins. And I'm putting on my discovery hat here, an investigator hat. Who knows? This is maybe it's just CM Punk giving a little rub to his buddy Will Ospreay. But I'm being a CM Punk mark, which is definitely okay to be a CM Punk mark. And I'm saying, if this guy does not want any type of angle, he's not here to be a part of any type of angle, and he doesn't appreciate what Seth Rollins is doing, some type of angle, then my friends, I ask you, why is Mr. Punk bringing up the name of Mr. Rollins again? Comment, my fine audience, my fine viewers. Okay, don't comment because you can't comment, but you can comment down in the section below. Why is Mr. Rollins being poked at by Mr. CM Punk? CM Punk, come to the Royal Rumble, we beg you. WWE, make it happen. So, yeah, that was going on. And it was also announced, just going back to WWE backstage, that Samoa Joe will be on commentary, replacing Dio Madden. CM Punk's going to be on commentary until he's cleared to wrestle. I'm sorry, CM Punk. Samoa Joe will be on commentary until he's cleared to wrestle. And Dio Madden going back to Performance Center in NXT. Jeez, I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know what they're looking to do exactly. I will tell you that what we've seen from Vic Joseph, I think he has really come into his own. And Vic Joseph, everything is smooth. I like him now. I think it took him a while, a couple weeks to get comfortable. And with the with the help of Jerry Lawler, he's kind of more comfortable. Got his feet wet, found his rhythm in Vic Joseph, and he emphasizes what he has to. He has good emotion. So I think it's not a bad commentary team. Dio Madden really wasn't able to form that much of an opinion on him. I like what Samoa Joe is doing on commentary. Listen, my 2 cents, and I really, really like Samoa Joe on commentary. He has it. I think he's good at it. Would this be something for him to do once his wrestling career is over? I could see it. Could he deal with Vince McMahon constantly being in his ear as he produces the announcers? Who knows how long Vince McMahon will be doing that? So that might be not even for a long period of time. But every indication is Vince McMahon is not slowing down. So I mean that remains to be seen. I always thought Mick Foley was good, and he stopped doing it because he just couldn't take Vince McMahon being in his ear. But I see a future for Samoa Joe. I mean, Samoa Joe, unfortunately, he kind of, and I heard this, a lot of people on, and I would agree with the sentiment on the comparison, rather. He kind of reminds me of, I don't know, like a Taz type of a deal, where almost like parallel, where for whatever reason, it just really never quite worked out for Taz at that level that you would expect it to, coming from where he was coming from. You know what I mean? Like he never, it was always something missing. But and it shouldn't have been, because he was like a big thing coming over from ECW. And I think I could draw a comparison to that, like Samoa Joe. For whatever reason, it just never really shook right, never really held a title for too long, and it's just something missing. But I think great. Both have the potential to be good on commentary. I mean, Taz was great on commentary, one of my favorites. I think Samoa Joe has that too. And I think Samoa Joe could definitely heal it up, as he's kind of been showing you some tendencies to kind of heal it up which is what you need between the antagonist, which is telling an exaggerated truth, something that you need to put in between a Vic Joseph and a Jerry the King Lawler. So I could see that. I could see Samoa Joe being on commentary, but I don't see this lasting for long, because all indications are Samoa Joe will be cleared soon enough to wrestle, and at that point, where do you go? I think you could bring back a Tom Phillips. I love Tom Phillips. I didn't have a problem with him at all. Loved him. Even Byron Saxon. So it'll be interesting to see where that leads. Bray Wyatt has his own... not Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is carrying around the blue belt. The Fiend is carrying around his own special custom-made belt, which was introduced on television this past week. So it's, they're kind of, Bray Wyatt and the Fiend. It's almost like two separate people. What do I think about that belt? First of all, WWE is putting it on .com. It's like going for like close to $7,000. Might say, well, that's a crazy amount to be paying for a belt. Yes, it is definitely a crazy amount to be paying for a belt. But I don't think they're using this. It's not meant to be used as a toy type of deal. I don't think that's their intention. The guy that created this belt, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is like a huge horror film guy, well-respected guy in the industry, in his designs and what he does. So it's almost meant to be like a piece of art, that belt that they have on WWE. So who's going to buy that who's going to buy that belt for that type of money? Well, that's a good question. If you're the average Joe, you might not have that type of money to spend. But there are very rich people out there, my friends, that have that type of money laying around, and they could put it in their man cave. So I think, that people are kind of knocking WWE. That's the intention. Is not. It's not supposed to be like a replica, something that you carry around your shoulder. You could, but it's meant to be almost like more of a piece of furniture, of art, like something that you display more than carry around and play with. If you get what I'm saying, I hope so. I hope that makes sense. So as far as that, is it disrespectful to have two belts? No, because it's, you could even see the correlation where the Fiend doesn't even really need a belt. He's just there to cause chaos. So he doesn't even need a belt, which is why he maybe has his own custom look. I guess that makes sense. And Fiend is causing chaos, just disrupting people. And, Bray Wyatt, he's just there. He wants to be, quote unquote, everyone's friend. And he's just trying to be the good old boy. I don't know. So, I could see it in the sense of they're kind of separating the two. But again, it's like the Fiend. It was the Fiend, the guy in the mask, not the guy in the sweater that won the championship. What can I say? Sometimes you can't complain about everything. You just kind of let it go. Speaking of letting go, Corey Graves, said he apologized on his podcast. A lot of people are saying it's not good enough. It was not even just a half-ass apology. Hey, listen, you who knows what to believe? None of us know Corey Graves personally, I don't think. Who knows what's in the man's heart? He said he's sorry. Okay? These two are grown men. They're co-workers. Let them iron it out. Maybe they even said that he already said to him he's sorry in person. Who knows? Let's not try to analyze every other thing. The man said he's sorry. What else more do you want from Corey Graves? A pint of blood? Let's take a step back, folks. Now we're taking a step back. This will conclude this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And, tell your friends about it. You can look at it a few times if you want. This episode and all my other prior episodes. And everything else on this channel. So until next week, folks, have a great one. Hope all is well. Ciao.